Welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the terms that you'll hear inside superannuation called accumulation fund or pension fund. And we're going to talk about what the differences are and why you need to understand what they are. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about transition to retirement, what it is and how it's taxed. So the first thing is you'll hear things called accumulation fund. And this is, in its very simplest term, your superannuation when it is accumulating money. So your employer is contributing to it or you're contributing to it. So when a fund is in accumulation phase, it's growing through contributions, it's growing through income, and it will pay tax on 15% of the concessional contributions. If you're not quite sure what that is, jump on over to my video that's where we talk about concessional and non-concessional. So when it's in accumulation phase, it will pay that 15% tax on both the contributions that are concessional. Your non-concessional, you don't pay any tax on because nobody's claimed it as a tax deduction, but you'll also pay 15% on the earnings that that fund makes. Then we have what is called pension phase. So pension phase is when you've gone from accumulating money to actually drawing down or getting paid out of your superannuation. So your fund can't be doing both. You can't be in pension phase and accumulation phase. You can potentially still be collecting contributions if you're still working and drawing down a pension, but they will be two separate funds within one. So when it goes to pension phase, so you're starting to get the money paid out to you, no longer will the fund have to pay the tax office 15% of the earnings on your income. And of course, it's not collecting any tax, any contributions, so it's not going to pay any contributions tax. So with your super fund in pension phase, all the earnings are staying inside that superannuation fund. You're not losing any of it to the tax office. And that's because the idea now is that your fund should be looking after your retirement and giving you an income in retirement. So it's important to understand that you have accumulation phase where 15% of the tax is paid, and that's where you're working and money's coming in. And then you move to pension phase, and that's where you get paid out money because you're in retirement. So what is a transition to retirement? And this is probably one of the most confusing things that people have. So the transition to retirement is where you're generally, and I say generally because it's not always the case, where you've cut back your working days, but because you're young, your cost of living in early stage retirement is much higher than in the later stage because, of course, you've finished work, you want to do all those things that you couldn't do when you were working. So you want to travel, you want to go out for lunches, weekends away. Your cost of living is still quite high. And so you've gone from getting a full-time wage to now only a part-time wage or a pension. So what they do is the tax office came and said, well, to encourage people to move into that part-time work instead of going full-time straight into a pension, we bring in this transition to retirement. So normally with your superannuation, you must be 65 and to still be working and collect a pension. If you're 60 and you want to start to get your pension out of your super fund, you actually have to finish work and retire. So it wasn't an option for people to move to 3 days a week or 2 days a week and get their pension to supplement their income under the old rules until they were 65. So if you wanted to retire at 60 and you wanted to go back to 3 days a week so that you could do 4 days, to take the long weekends and things, you couldn't supplement your income because you were still working. So the government brought in what they call transition to retirement. And so what that allows you to do is to continue working up to the age of 65, but still collect some pension. And so what you'll do is you would get your 3 days wages, and then you would top it up to the 5 days with your pension payment. So what happens inside your superannuation is it will actually split that fund, part accumulation where your employer's still putting in the contribution because you're still working 3 days a week, and then part of your fund would become a pension phase where it would start to pay you down what you needed to supplement your income. So, 2 days a week. If you're over the age of 60, that payment from your superannuation fund is tax-free. If you're eligible to get your superannuation before the age of 60, so if you're able to draw that down, then it's getting fewer and fewer people that can do that, because that's based on your preservation age. And I probably should follow that up in a minute with what a preservation age is. So if you're able to get your superannuation before the age of 60, that pension isn't tax-free because, of course, normally your accumulation pension, when you go from accumulation to pension phase, it's tax-free once you turn 60. So if you're in a transition to retirement scheme, you can get out before the age of 60 and reduce those hours and get some pension payment. That pension payment will form part of your taxable income until you reach the age of 60, and then it is tax-free. So if you're over the age of 60 and you're got a transition to retirement, don't do the mistake that most people do and they say, right, well, I get X amount of dollars per day. I'm getting 3 days of wages from my employer, so I need X times 2 to get my 2. If it's tax-free, you only need to pull down your net payment, not your gross payment. So it's really important that before you go to a transition to retirement phase, that you understand the implications of pulling that money out beforehand, and you really should only pull out what you need to pull out so that your fund keeps earning income and can grow. The other side with a transition to retirement, so with your pension phase, there's minimums and maximums based on the balance that you can pull out. So normally your minimum is 4% of your balance you need to pull out, and the maximum you can pull out is 10% of your balance. And of course, if you've gone to a transition to retirement, you need to get the amount that you roll out of accumulation phase into your pension phase right. Otherwise, you're not going to fall in with the right amount you want to pull out. So for example, let's say you want $10,000 a year that you need to supplement your work as part of your pension. So you would need to roll out somewhere that will give you 10,000 as between 4 and 10% of the balance. So you don't want to turn around and pull out 500,000 because you would have to take 50,000 a year when you really only wanted 10,000. And you've got to keep in mind that it's based on your balance, so the ups and downs. So before you roll to a transition to retirement, you really do need to get advice on what is the right spot for you to roll, and how much you need to roll, because you don't want to pull out too much and you don't want to be stuck that it doesn't give you enough income in retirement, which is what it's supposed to do. I think that was it. I don't think I needed to talk about anything else. I've got a feeling I said I was coming back to something, but I can't remember what that is now. So if there was something else I was going to chat about, I'll put that in any notes. Again, I've put a glossary and some terms on all those things that I just mentioned. So click the link below and you can find out everything that you need to know about your accumulation, your pension phase, and your transition to retirement. So that's all for my super series. I hope that this has been valuable. Please reach out to me if there's anything that you think I haven't covered off and you want me to do a quick video. I am more than happy to do that for you, because of course, if you have those questions, somebody else may. And what I'm trying to do here is give you all the knowledge that you need to make informed decisions. So please reach out to me if there's anything else that you want me to cover. That's it for now. Have a great week. Bye.